Hi everyone, I'm Steve Stoller.
And I'm Shauna Haley, and this is Inside Plano, where we take you behind the scenes of our city.
We'll introduce you to the faces and places who help make this a great place to live.
And give us lots of reasons to love Plano.
Happy New Year, Steve.
Well, hi, Shannah. Happy New Year to you as well.
Well, I'm sounding a little froggy for the new year. Of course, that's because we're recording a little before the new year begins, but I'm sitting here sipping my hot tea, and I believe you have a hot tea as well, so cheers.
I don't sound froggy at all, Shauna.
Cheers to the new year, right?
That's right.
Cheers.
L'chaim, as we say, to life.
L'chaim, to life, all right. Wow, that hot tea really hits the spot. How are things going so far for you?
Very good, yeah.
Same here.
It's going to be exciting. People have made their New Year's resolutions, and we'll see how long we keep them.
Exactly. We probably will keep them just a few days. That's usually the way it works. Although, this year what I actually did, I typically don't make resolutions, but this year I was like, I'm going to have some goals because I felt like I just got stalled in place last year. So I thought I'm going to do some goals for myself, not resolutions. And they're 12 months in a year, so I gave myself 6 goals. That way I have 2 months to work on each of them, and they are very achievable goals, like finish cleaning the carpet upstairs with my new steam cleaner, and finish decorating the living room now that we have new wood floors down. So achievable goals, and at least I'll have them down so I won't look at Christmas next year and go, gosh, I didn't get anything done and the house looks exactly the same, a total wreck, because I've been too busy. What about you? Did you have any strategies for how you're going to get things?
I have a resolution.
Oh, you do?
It's the same resolution I've had for probably the last 37 years, and that's to lose weight. So, that's a good time on New Year's Day to try and start eating healthy and eating right.
Oh, you're right.
And the key is trying to stay with it over time.
Yeah, it really is consistent. Weight doesn't come on all at once. It comes on over time. It's my 5-year anniversary with the city in June of this year. I can't believe it. It feels like it's been no time at all. But learning to adapt to city life, I ate a lot of my feelings in the first 2 years. So I do have part of my 6 goals. I want to be back at my fighting weight, the weight that I came in at when I joined the city 4.5 years ago. I want to be there by the time I hit my 5-year anniversary in June.
We can support each other and help each other.
Yes, and that's why we're drinking tea. No calories. I noticed that on the menu, 0 calories for the tea.
Well, let's talk about some of the great things. It's exciting being January because like last year, we have so much going on in the city.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about some of the things that are happening this month.
Sure. So last month, actually, we did have kind of our New Year's resolutions or best wishes for the city. And one of those was to get to know your neighbors better. That's always a wish that I have. Let's get to know our community. And our neighborhood services department holds a really great series of workshops and roundtables working with our neighborhood, various neighborhood associations. By the way, there are 230 of those that are registered in the city and 8 apartment complexes. So on January 30th, what better time than to participate in their Neighbors Connect social hour. January 30th, you'll get to know other neighbors, other neighborhood leaders. It's a great way to start the new year and really put your best foot forward.
Yeah, and you meet new people. It's fun.
Absolutely. I felt like last year we talked about trash and recycling a million times, maybe 1,000,001.
Still getting a lot of questions, and I don't think that's going to go away. I think, with the industry changing so rapidly, I think people are going to continue having questions about recycling.
Absolutely, and you know what G.I. Joe's motto is, right? Knowing is half the battle.
I don't remember that, and I had G.I. Joes.
You don't remember that?
No.
Man, now you know, and knowing is half the battle. Well, now you know a little more about recycling, or you can. If you tuned into the last town hall of 2019, that's all we talked about was trash and recycling. But we're starting the new year with a Recycling 102 offered by our environmental education team. That's January 28th. And what they're going to do is talk about how a municipal waste program works. So basically, what happens when you throw stuff in the can, whether it's your trash or your recycling? What does that process look like? And why is it important that we have clean recycling, where everything goes, and how the money trail works? So that'll be really interesting.
Did you know every day Each person in the United States throws away 5 pounds of garbage.
No, I did not know that, but of course that's average. So there's probably some that are high recyclers versus trash, but
I think we're actually on the high end of the spectrum at our house.
Are you? I feel like we're on the low. We fill up our recycling cart every time. I mean, I've been tempted to contact the city and ask for a second recycling cart because we rarely have any trash going out. Not that that means that we're really super clean, neat, tidy folks. We just don't happen to generate a lot of trash just with 2 people in our house.
So some of the things they're going to talk about at Recycling 102, you can find out about our municipal waste programs, the local landfill, the work that goes into disposing our waste, and why it's important to reduce, reuse, and recycle, the 3 R's.
Yeah, and did you know that you can actually sign up for tours of the recycling facility in Plano? So that's something that they'll probably talk about during that meeting, and that's pretty fascinating to go and watch how they sort all of the recyclables into the various programs. It's pretty cool. You know, in 2020, we're also kicking off all of our volunteer programs, and specifically for sustainability, they're doing a lot of new orientation programs. So if you've always, ever been interested in doing a creek cleanup or a sustainability champion, anything like that, you'll want to make sure that you check out the new volunteer orientation that they'll do in January.
Very good. And Live Green in Plano.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, because that's what we're going for, right?
That's right.
You know, clean living all around. So speaking of volunteer opportunities, and this is something you're going to talk a little bit more with our guest today, Shanette Eaden. January is our annual point-in-time homeless census. I believe that's January 23rd, and we're going to need volunteers to participate in that count. What they do is they're trained, they go through a training opportunity, and then they're accompanied by a Plano police officer, so it's not like you're just wandering the city counting any homeless that you encounter. There's a process to it. And we also, as part of that effort, any individuals that are encountered that evening are given a care package that includes food, hygiene items, basic care essentials, things like, chapstick, a beanie, gloves to keep your hands warm. We need help. So we need help with people counting, and we need help with people contributing to those care packages. So basically taking care of our neighbors who are what we would say housing insecure. Jeanette will talk a lot more about that. I'm sure you're going to ask her some questions about that. But there's a sign up. We'll put the information in the show notes. This is always a high volunteer event, and so I'm not sure how many spaces are available still, but please go check out and see how you can be part of that effort.
So this month we celebrate Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and that's actually Monday on January 20th this year, and some buildings, including our libraries and municipal center, will be closed. You can check out the holiday hours page on the city website, plano.gov, so you know what is and isn't open on that day.
Absolutely, and we keep that calendar updated all the time. So anytime a holiday's coming, you'll want to check that page. Now, a fun annual tradition, it's in January, it's the Little Sweetheart Dance. Some of you may know that as the daddy-daughter dance, but we realize that a lot of girls have other father figures in their lives, great uncles, family friends, grandparents, so wanted to broaden that a little bit. So January 11th, it's at the Plano Event Center, just $20 a person. It's dancing, music, so much fun, and each girl gets a thank you gift. So tickets, information on the website, which means we'll put it in the show notes.
It's for girls age 4 to 14 at the Plano Event Center, as you said. Fathers, father figures, tickets $20 per person.
That's right.
Yeah.
So also, now that you mentioned January 11th for that event, that reminds me that that day is a pretty important one in the life of the city, because that is when we kick off the comprehensive plan review process. There's an ad hoc citizens advisory committee, and that's their kickoff meeting day. So we've been communicating with our residents all throughout December that we've started a new email list that'll push out information about that. So if you're interested, please visit the show notes. Most of the information going out to our residents is going to happen through that email distribution list, just to keep you updated on the process. And actually, Steve, we're thinking about starting a new podcast as well, where we're capturing information that's shared during those meetings. And that way, if you are interested in the conversations around the comprehensive plan, but everybody's lives are busy, you can download what maybe we'll call the Special Inside Plano Comprehensive Plan series and listen to that podcast. We think that process is going to take probably most of 2020, so that'll be an interesting series to listen to.
Absolutely. And as always, our libraries have a plethora of events and activities for January.
Yeah, so January, of course, is the Lunar New Year, and there are two opportunities to enjoy it. You can go to Harrington Library on January 18th for the Wayun Chinese Orchestra, or go to Parr Library on January 25th. This year, it is the Year of the Rat, so you'll learn all about that, and that's, again, at Parr Library on the 25th.
The libraries are also partnering with SCORE as a resource for adults who are interested in starting their own businesses. You can learn more about SCORE on January 21st at the Schimmelfinnig Library.
You know, I mean, let's stop right there for a second. You know, we talk about the libraries being more than books. I think that that's an excellent example. You know, libraries are really kind of information resources, they're social hubs. We know we are now living in the time of what people call the gig economy. You know, a lot of small businesses, a lot of startups, a lot of work from home opportunities. It's one thing to say, I'm going to do my own thing, and it's another thing to do it well and do it in a way that can be sustaining and supportable. So partnering with SCORE is really a great opportunity for you, residents. If you want to learn how to make a sustainable, vibrant business, take advantage of this resource. It's free, and it's offered to you through the library.
Absolutely. You know, beginning in February, SCORE is actually going to have mentors available at Schimmelfinnig that will help new and aspiring small business owners learn about resources and all the services that are available to them.
That's just fantastic. Well, you know, we do say that we're more than books, but we still are books. You know, I mean, that is what a library is. And very popular author Lisa Gardner is coming back to Plano. She's going to Haggard Library on January 29th for the Pop-Up Author Program. And what she's going to do is talk about her latest novel, When You See Me, and she'll even sign copies. And that's a free event. Now, if you're a super fan of Lisa Gardner, and I know that there are many, there is a ticketed reception that's hosted by Friends of the Plano Public Library, and that's before the open to the public event. It's a special meet and greet. You get a front row seat. Believe me, that is quite valuable. Even if you can't make it to the meet and greet, to get a front row seat is pretty valuable. So you can check out the website, check out our show notes, and you can get details on how you get one of those tickets.
Did you know that we recently got another accolade?
We did. I feel like that's like an every week occurrence.
Well, you know, and some of them are really bizarre. I mean,
Yeah.
You and I have talked about this before. You know, the cities in America where it's best to celebrate Halloween, best place to raise a pet. I mean, there's a list for everything, literally almost every week.
Absolutely.
And fortunately, we make these lists a lot in Plano.
That's because we're Plano.
And it's very positive things usually. We were recently named the most safe city in Texas, one of the safest cities in America. Well, the one that we just got named, which I think we're very proud of, is we're one of the top most caring cities in America and the most caring city in Texas.
I think that's awesome. And I'm not really surprised.
Yeah, it was Wallet Hub, and they used a series of metrics, how much people spend time volunteering, which of course we have a huge volunteer effort in Plano. How much money people give to charities was also very high for Plano. So we're really proud of that. You know, we've something we've known all along, that we are a caring city.
Well, I think that's why our kind of our tagline, you know, Love Plano, makes a lot of sense, because we do love living here. And so if you want to share a little bit of that love with your family or with your neighbors, you know, there's again another fun event that you can go to at the library. Specifically, you can go to Davis Library on what day? January 11th. That's a very popular day. It's a Spread the Love card making workshop. So there's nothing like the written word and something handmade to tell people that you really care. So it's very Plano.
Spread the love.
That's right.
Our special guest today is Shanette Eaden. Jeanette is our Housing and Community Services Manager from our Neighborhood Services Department. Jeanette, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for
having me.
having me.
It's good to see you. So I guess the first question we ask you is a question we ask everybody we interview. You know, we know what you do for the city. Tell us something about yourself we don't know. It can be anything.
So what those that are close to me, including those in my department, know, and if you know me, others may not know that I love to eat and I love to bake, and I am an avid baker. And in another life, I will have a whole bakery and eat and not get big, and bake and sell and sell.
See, now I just got done talking about my New Year's resolution to lose weight. Now, how am I going to do this if you open a bakery?
I just finished a green smoothie cleanse. I'll talk to you about it.
Well, Shannette, you're the Housing and Community Services Manager for Neighborhood Services. What exactly is your function? What do you do in your job?
So our mission in the Neighborhood Services Department is always to connect community needs with community resources. So as such, I have the awesome job of managing our day labor center, which people don't realize that we have on any day 200 to 300 laborers come to our center, and we connect them with contractors, including Plano residents that just need assistance. Maybe it's their lawn care, maybe it's building a house. We assist them at the day labor center. So I manage that. I also oversee all of the city's housing rehabilitation programs, from Grade Update Rebate, which is not an income-based program, it's a rebate program based on the age of your house, to those that are income-based, like our housing rehabilitation program. I also have the awesome job of assisting homeless. So we have a rapid rehousing program where we use state funding to house homeless individuals. And so I get to oversee that program, as well as any of our federally funded programs that we use U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development funding on.
Shannette, you recently did a presentation for our Plano City Council on the homeless population. Can you update us on the status of the homeless in Plano?
So Plano, we have, last year in 2019, there were 248 that were homeless. Of that 248 that were homeless, 103 of them were unsheltered. So what I can tell you is, from the 2018 homeless count to 2019, we had a 49% increase in unsheltered homeless. So that's something that we are keeping a big eye out on here in Plano. And a lot of that is why and what caused our city council to approve a rapid rehousing program, because we are trying to house those that need to be housed. And even when you look at it, something that people don't know is that the majority of Plano's homeless population, they have jobs. Of that 248 that I'm speaking of, 30% did not have jobs. 32% actually had full-time jobs, and the other percent had part-time jobs. So Plano, we're unique in that we have a working poor issue, which is why the city also has a homelessness prevention program, because what we know is if we can keep you housed, it's much cheaper to do that than to allow you to fall into homelessness.
What are the needs of the homeless population?
Well, the first one is housing.
Of course.
Everybody knows that. There's not an emergency shelter anywhere in Collin County if you are in what we call the general population. So if you are a homeless male, or that hasn't been a survivor of domestic violence, or if you are a woman like myself who hasn't been a victim of any type of domestic violence, there's not an emergency shelter for me. But what we do have in Plano are domestic violence shelters for survivors that are women. We have two in Plano. One is Hope's Door New Beginnings, and the second is Texas Muslim Women's Foundation's Peace in the Home Shelter. We also have one for youth, and our youth population, they have an emergency shelter that's run by City House. So there is an emergency shelter for those very specific populations, but not for the general population. So shelter is a top need. The next one is emergency food. Obviously, if you're living on the street, you're going to need food. And you're going to need food that doesn't require a refrigerator, and typically that doesn't need a can opener. So food, and then after food comes dental hygiene, because of course your teeth, a lot of people don't know this, but if your teeth are bad, it causes other health problems.
Absolutely.
And I believe the last one that we had was just general job training and skills. Transportation, I'm sorry.
Excuse me. What type of people are at risk for homelessness?
That's a good question. So I'm going to tell you that 30% of Plano's population, regardless of their income, are spending more than what the federal government calls cost burden. They're 30%. Federal government says 30%. If you're spending 30% or more, of your income on your housing cost, you are cost burdened. That means it's going to be hard for you to sustain your living. 30% of Plano's population, regardless of where they live, are experiencing that. So to answer your question, everybody is at risk. There's so many people in Plano living from paycheck to paycheck, and you may not know it because they're driving a luxury car, and what you don't know is that they didn't pay the note, and they're just hoping that it doesn't get repossessed, and then they're without their car. You probably go to any shelter and any emergency food pantry in Plano, and if you stay there long enough, you'll see the kind of cars coming up, and they're not beat up and old cars. A lot of them are cars that look like they are luxury cars, and what you don't realize is that they're barely making it, the people there. So everybody, I'm going to tell you, we're all but one paycheck away, unless you are a millionaire. You know, hopefully you wouldn't lose all your money. But I always say everybody is at risk. So it means you and I, we could be at risk. If we lose our job, if something happens that causes us to lose our job and maybe unemployment runs out, we're but one bill from being in the hospital, an emergency room visit. Those things are what affects a lot of Plano's residents.
So what is the city of Plano doing about the homeless problem?
Well, we are trying to address it. So I mentioned that we have a rapid rehousing program. Mm-hmm. That is where we actually will, if the homeless individual is willing to sign up for our program, we will house them. We pick them up. We provide a lease for them. They'll rent either an apartment, or if it's a family, we've got families that we're helping in our program, then there's a house that we will lease for them up to 12 months. And while we're housing them, we are giving them intense case management, as well as looking at everything that's going on in their life that has caused them to be homeless and trying to fix it within the 12-month period. And so we're not necessarily paying 100% of the rent for the entire 12 months, because sometimes you have a job already. I mentioned that majority of our homeless have jobs. So if you already have a job and the home is the issue, let's put you in a home first, and then let's try to assist you in getting whatever else. Do you have access to all of the other services available, the federal government services, and get you saving some of your money up so that you can be self-sufficient after those 12 months, if 12 months is needed. The other thing we do is we have a homeless outreach team. It's Neighborhood Services Department. We work really closely with our police department, as well as our fire department, Life Path, which is the mental health authority in Collin County, as Salvation Army helps us. We will go out bi-monthly and actually just walk the streets to our homeless population, with the locations that we know where they're living or sleeping or frequent. We will all go together and try to assist them. We meet them one-on-one, and we offer them services. For those that we need emergency shelter, of course, we have to send them to Dallas shelters. But we're not just sending people to a Dallas shelter. We're calling the Dallas shelter, we're referring them to the Dallas shelter, and we're keeping contact with them, so that when either our rapid rehousing programs waiting list is down, or when there's an opening or some shelter here in Plano, a transitional shelter can help them, then they come back to Plano. Because what we want to do in Plano is take care of Plano residents. That means our homeless too. We don't want to ship them to another city and leave them there. So they're there temporarily while we're trying to, on the back end, in the Neighborhood Services Department, figure out how they can go ahead and get on the list for these other what we call transitional shelters that are located here. The other thing that we do, I mentioned, is homelessness prevention. So we try to prevent people from becoming homeless, because it's so expensive once you become homeless. It's just cheaper. It's cheaper to keep you in your house. So we have a homelessness prevention program. And we also, in addition to our street outreach, every Wednesday at 2:30, from 2:30 to 5:30, we actually have an employee that goes to Harrington Library and meets one-on-one with our homeless, so that we can assist them there. We have an agreement with Metro Dallas Homeless Alliance. We will, a lot of times, send our homeless to Metro Dallas Homeless Alliance, so that they can be entered into a larger homeless database, so that as housing arises, it's a regional database, then they can get housed as well.
There's always concern about the homeless when the temperatures go up We have very hot temperatures, and when the temperatures drop, and we have very cold temperatures.
Yeah.
What resources are available for these folks when that happens?
So right now, if the temperature is 32 degrees or below, or it is 35 degrees with precipitation, then there's the Plano Overnight Warming Station. That just started last year, so this will be its second full year. It's at the Salvation Army in Plano on 14th Street. So what happens on those nights is the Salvation Army actually will go and pick people up. They work closely with our police department as well, and they will go and look for the homeless in Plano on that night that are out in the cold, and they will house them. And I'd like to say PALS isn't just an initiative of the Salvation Army, it's an initiative of the faith-based committee out of the Collin County Homeless Coalition. So it wouldn't work without all the faith-based organizations that came together to fund this activity as well as staff it too. So cold weather nights are covered, but we don't have one that's for hot weather days. So there isn't an overnight for hot weather days. I know that some of our nonprofits will open their doors up during the day just to the general homeless population. When it's really hot in the summer so they can cool down, they'll give them water. But we don't have something similar to the warming station, like a cooling station in the summer.
So what can we do if we see homeless in Plano? What is the best way we can help?
Best way you can help if you see someone homeless in Plano is to refer them to the city. And the city, when you call the general city number, they will get whomever's calling to us. The other thing, if you say you don't have time to do that, you want to do something now, I'm going to say buy them something to eat. Don't give them money. So the idea is we are trying to help our homeless no longer be homeless through street outreach and other avenues. But if it's really comfortable to stay living outside, then sometimes it's hard to realize that, hey, there's this other help that can help. So definitely buy them something to eat. I do that. When I'm driving here in Plano, if I see somebody homeless, I will get them something to eat and I will give it to them. And I also will give them my card. We have what we call homeless pocket pals. And if someone calls our department 972-208-8150 and ask for those, we will supply them with it. We have to make them, but what that is it's a small little pocket pile with a lot of numbers for agencies that might be able to assist them. There are agencies on that list that provide shelter, both in Collin County and in Dallas. There are food pantries on that list, medical services on that list, and there's also a huge flyer that tells people to call the city of Plano and allows us to help them too.
Shanette, thank you for all you do, for having a big heart, and for joining us today on Inside Plano.
Thanks for having me.
Shanette Eaden, Housing and Community Services Manager for Neighborhood Services. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I'm always interested in learning more about the work that we do with our homeless community. It's really a lot of effort put in by the neighborhood services team and Plano Police Department, many others, trying to meet the needs of people. So want to just remind everybody, we talked about it earlier, the point-in-time homeless count in Plano is January 23rd, and you can get more information in the show notes about that.
Very good.
Okay, so my one thing that I want to tell people about, we've been published as a city in a pretty important book, or at least we feel like it is. It's a program from the Plano Public Library called Art Shop. It's in a new publication called Rainy Day Ready, Financial Literacy Programs and Tools, and the American Library Association published this. So it's a national resource for libraries across the country, and it features a program that was developed and implemented right here in Plano. It's part of our ongoing financial education initiative. So we'll be offering additional art shop programs throughout the year, Thinking Money for Kids, teens, adults, all throughout the spring. So make sure that you check out the library's website. We'll put links to that in the show notes. But we're really proud of the efforts that Plano Library does.
We have a great library system. We really do. So as I mentioned, my resolution is trying to live healthy by eating right and getting more physical fitness. So this event really is right in line with that. It's called the It's Time Texas Community Challenge. It's actually a statewide competition, and it's designed to inspire people, organizations, and cities across Texas to engage in healthy activities in support of a healthier community. It takes place January 6th through March 1st. It's an 8-week challenge built around healthy actions like getting a workout and eating nutritious food and drinking plenty of water.
I can get
Good
into
thing.
that. I
Yeah.
can definitely get into that.
So we're also doing something as a city as a part of that. We're doing our own event. Plano Parks and Recreation will kick off the challenge with the Mayor and City Council on January 9th at Carpenter Park Recreation Center. This is the official start of what we're calling Rec Fest. Now that'll run 2 days, January 9th, actually 3 days, January 9th through January 11th. Rec Fest is a series of open house events to help you live your best life in 2020. You can enjoy free classes, fitness demos, on-site personal trainers, vendor tables, raffles, giveaways, and a lot more. So this is important too. There'll also be a variety of health screenings and nutrition information that will be available for people like me so that we can start the new year off right.
Yeah, if you've ever wondered what's inside those Plano Recreation Centers, what a great way to find out. Just stop in at one of the Rec Fest open houses. I can totally get behind all of that. Are you gonna sign up for It's Time Texas?
I think so, yeah. And hopefully I'll stay with it and see how long it lasts.
All right, well, it's time, Plano. So sign up with Steve and I and track your activities, drink more water. Let's live a great best life in 2020, because after all, it is a new year, new opportunities face us. And hey, a new opportunity that I would like to present to each of you is, if you haven't already, please leave us a review on your favorite podcasting app, because it helps people find our little show. And as of the last count that we can figure, about 5,000 of you listen to us each month. So we'd love to have our audience continue growing. And if you have a thought for something you'd like us to talk about in 2020, send us an email, askplano@plano.gov. We may not know the answer, but I can promise you that Steve and I can find out who does. So until next time.
You do that so well.
Oh, thank you. I might have done it before. This is show 25. Can you
Wow,
believe
that's
it?
great.
I know.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. We enjoy doing it.
Yeah. Well, anytime. Until next time, Plano. Have a good one.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
And that's it for our Inside Plano. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we did doing it.
If you have any comments or suggestions, send them to us at askplano@plano.gov. Bye!
Talk to you next month. The Inside Plano podcast is brought to you by the City of Plano and 97.5 KLAK.